Okay, we'll go ahead and call the meeting of the BZA to order. Thanks everybody from coming. First item on the agenda is going to be roll call. So Mark, Cicely, Eric, Kendra. We also have Amber Reyes and our codes official, and looks like Matthew Carmen in the gallery. We do have a quorum. So the next item on the business on the agenda then is approval of last month's minutes. You should have a copy of them in your packet. I'll give you a minute to look them over. And I will remind everybody that we are being recorded, so please use the mic. If you intend to speak, you have to be on the listed on the sign the sheet and use the mic at the podium. It looks good to entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Seconded.
A motion from Mark and a second from Cicely to approve the minutes last month's meeting as presented. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Amber, for doing the minutes. Next thing is approval of the agenda then. So we should have a copy of the agenda in front of you. If there is no additions or corrections, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Kendra, second by Mark to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next thing would be a public hearing, but since I don't see any public, there's probably nothing there to talk about. Old business. Any old business? No old business. Okay. So then we're gonna jump a little bit on the agenda, and while we're waiting for Amanda Harrington to come, we'll jump ahead on the agenda and let Miss Rosalie update us on whatever she's got to talk about.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in your packet, you'll find that there is a nice sized section, and the title of it says, "How do I file a complaint?" Well, what this is dealing with, as you have probably noticed, that there is blasting going on in the county, and it's on multiple fronts. We have the compressor station, the Enbridge compressor station that's being constructed on Boat Dock Road. They've pulled a permit and they're starting to work on the solar array, and that's on the Puryear's Bend of that section of land. So I started getting numerous calls that the amount of the vibration from the blast was doing damage to houses. So I called the state investigator, the blasting investigator. There's only one for the state. Amazing. And found out exactly what we can do, or what those that are impacted by this, what can they do for to have their voice be heard and find out what can be done about this. Now, typically you'll hear that they are blasting at about 4:30 in the afternoon. I know someone had mentioned that the blasting would stop at around Thanksgiving. their blasting permit is good until June of 2026. And that reason being is that they may do the initial blast to really start the construction, get going. But you guys know as well as I do that there's a huge amount of rock in Trousdale County, and they may not know exactly where that rock is, and they'll have to go and do more blasting in order to do more of that construction. Now, what I've included in your packet is what I was given. Now, I don't have construction plans for the compressor station. That is a federal project that is being done. So I am not involved in the inspection of that building. But you can see and it'll be a page just like this. And it basically shows the range of what they're going to be building. You may not be able to tell exactly what the buildings are. There'll be numerous structures out there on that property. They will have an entrance, a large entrance off of Boat Dock Road. And this is on, let's see, 50 acres. And this is this large 200-acre parcel of land that what used to be known as the Bratton Farm. So this compressor station is going on 50 acres on one side of the parcel. On the other side, and you'll have more information here too, is the solar array. And the solar array is going to be 58 acres. Now it does say 82.5, but that includes what we call the buffer strip. You know, that area of land that they have to have, that space around there. In the middle, you'll see that it's just going to be open land there with all the different forestry there, which is good because that will help mitigate any type of stormwater issues that that parcel has. And then the back page of this gives you an idea of what the solar array is going to look like. So in talking with the investigator, what happens when the state issues a blasting permit? Of course, they have to have all this good information, as in, yes, they have licensed handlers. They have specific training on different types of explosives, and they have to get cards, they have to get certification. All of that has to be submitted to the state in order for them to issue a permit for that. They have to give them exactly, just like we were talking about at 4:30, well, they have to have a schedule. Also, what they have to do is they have to notify the property around that area, but the property that is having the blasting, so the blast site, the radius is 300 feet. Now, with 50 acres, 300 feet, it's not really close to a lot of different people, but a lot of different people out on Boat Dock Road and Puryear's Bend. I even hear it at the administration building at 4:30. You can hear the blast. We're sitting on a large shelf of rock, and the vibrations and everything transfer. So I do have information on how to file a complaint. That is the baseline. And what'll happen is that this investigator will start researching all the various complaints. Now, the blasters have to take video of every single blast because there is a set protocol order of things that they have to do in order to do this blasting. And if anything is out of the norm, that's when they will be fined. So given good information on, you know, the date of the blast, the time of the blast, whatever, that is going to be beneficial to those that are filing complaints. Now, here's another thing that we included in your packet. These are different door hangers that they put on doors down Boat Dock and Puryear's Bend, where it has a different little QR code down there where it'll take you straight to the site where somebody can go ahead and file a complaint. We've been talking to various people that have called us on the phone in the office and have come to the office to say, hey, what in the world is going on? We had no idea how large this is going to be. And I remind them how they've had presentations and open houses 2.5, 3 years ago. And you saw the nice PowerPoint presentation, but until you actually see something in real time, it's a totally different understanding or view of that. So I wanted to share this information with you so that if you know of anybody that is being impacted by this, you could let them know that they do have options. When you file a complaint too, they'll start sending people out to the property to start looking at the property, do a baseline, take pictures of what the structure looks like now. They also have seismograph type, thank you so much, sensors that will measure the type of vibration, how strong it is at their structure. I have seen some pictures from various people that live out in that area, and they have incurred cracks in their foundation, cracks in their ceiling, cracks in their wall, and it's unfortunate. So again, I just wanted to share this information and get the word out that they're just as important as the compressor station and the solar array. They do have a voice. The next thing that I included in your packet that Amber helped me with is that we went ahead and created the 2026 planning and BZA schedule that we've included in your packet. I think what we did this past year in having the trainings during the BZA, where planning could come early and participate in the trainings. They could also go online and watch it as well. And we had training packets. I think that did very well. What are your thoughts?
I liked it a lot. I thought it was good. We were able to ask questions in real time and had other people's inputs to help us understand it better.
I think it was really beneficial because each one of you come from a different walk of life and you have different insights to everything that happens. And some of you have been here, you're native Hartsvillians, and then others, such as myself, we're from outside the county, but we've made Trousdale County our home. I know I've been here about 30 years, and this is the longest I've ever lived in one place. You know, it's home. It was my children's home. So I think we'll try to start doing that again this next year because everybody does need to have 4 hours worth of training. The next thing that's in your packet is the statement of interest. It's like a form that needs to be filed with the state. Typically, they look for the planning commissioners, the county commissioners, those that have hold public office to fill this out. It's like a statement of ethics. Okay, so just wanted to put that in there and have you guys be aware. This will need to be filled out and turned in like January 31st. Now, as far as training hours, if you're still lacking some, please get with Amber. She's got it all documented and everything, and we can get you set up to finish the rest of your 4 hours worth of training. And also, if you guys would be thinking about too, what other training that you would like to have. I know we've looked at the permitting process, the land uses, you know, what the zones are this next year with the combined ordinances. Once they get passed, they are adding 2 new zones. And so we'll need to have training on that, the PUDs, the PUDs. So that would be a good thing to start. All right. Any questions with anybody? Perfect. Thank you.
I wouldn't mind having a session where we talk about some of the things that we might recommend for the planning commission to look at. And the specific one that comes to mind is sign size. Our sign size ordinance needs to be fixed so we don't have to grant sign variances every time we turn around. Okay, so we'll go back to new business now, and the item of new business we have on the agenda is a setback variance for Green Top Street. Parcel C, Mr. Matthew, you wanna fill us in?
I guess before I get started, Ms. Rosalie, I was under the impression we were going to be presenting a variance for a proposed division. Is it just going to be for setbacks? Is that what we're presenting tonight? Okay, very good. So does the BZA, do the board members have copies of plats or anything like that show okay. So I own some property at, of course, up on top at Foxhall and Green Top, and we've renovated some properties up there, recently tore down an old existing structure and built a new house, and then we're currently remodeling the old Carr Hellum Funeral Home building. And then I own a lot right below that that I would like to ask for a variance if I could divide it. I understand what I'm asking for does not meet current regulations per R2 zoning for Trousdale County. But if you have, I was shared some information with Miss Rosalie. If you look at the plat for that area, what I'm asking to do actually is uniform with most of the lots that are up there currently. You should have that shows the square footages. And so to me, on the current lot, Miss Rosalie, please correct me if I misspeak, on the current lot, just like it is currently existing, I can build a duplex. If I'm not mistaken, in R2 zoning in the city, I can even put a manufactured house, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And I think there's even a way, maybe by rezoning or maybe a way of implementing maybe a unit, a townhome that would have 2 units in it as well. And so to me, when you look at that area, if I was one of the folks living up there, I think I would rather have 2 residential structures than a duplex right there in between all of those homes. But the only way for me to build 2 residential structures is if you grant me a variance to divide the lot, because those lots would be substandard in accordance with our current rules and regs. So that's what I would like to ask the BZA, is if they would be willing to grant a variance for me to be able to divide that lot. And again, I understand that y'all have to be careful about setting a precedence, but I think once you look at multiple lots up through there, not only on on the plat, but on both sides of the street and all up in that area, you'll find many, many substandard lots up in that location. So that's what I would like to ask for this evening.
Do we know that's a lot of record as of, like, do we know? 1954. Well, it wasn't as late as I thought, maybe. We have in the past maybe been a little more lenient on granting variances on a lot of record that existed prior to really having any setback rules. Anybody else have a question?
Okay, does anybody have any questions before I give my staff review? Okay, so you're correct. This is a lot of record as it currently exists. So in its one entire parcel is a lot of record. What the applicant is proposing to do in terms of subdividing, as he has acknowledged, is against what your ordinance what your ordinance will allow. Section 3.040, reduction in lot area prohibited. No lot, even though it may consist of one or more adjacent lots of record, shall be reduced in area so that yards, lot per family, lot width, building area, or other requirements of the zoning ordinance are not maintained. This section shall not apply when a portion of a lot is acquired for a public purpose. No part of any yard or other open space, automobile storage area, or loading, unloading space provided around any building for purposes of compliance with these regulations shall be considered as providing such space similarly required for any other structure. So the long and short of it is that Article 3.040 expressly prohibits us subdividing a parcel into sizes that are less than the required minimum of your zoning ordinance. So even though Mr. Carmen makes an argument that is true, that there are several legal non-conforming lots in the area, the legal non-conforming privileges or grandfather status applies to those because they were created in terms or in times where the lots may have been legal at the time before zoning was enacted, or, you know, something had happened previous to. The zoning, newly created lots of record are required to meet all current zoning, subdivision, and applicable overlay district standards at the time of creation. So it's very clear in your ordinance that this is, that this type of subdivision is not permitted. If it was just something to the effect of requesting reduced lot coverage or reduce setback coverages, or, you know, something to that effect while maintaining that one particular lot of record, that's when a grandfather provision could go into effect and could be considered. But in terms of creating two new independent lots of record that are substandard, your zoning ordinance is very clear that that's not permitted.
One of my questions is there anything in our new standards that would remedy this or make this more permissible? Okay.
So setback variances, that we could talk about, but splitting it into two lots is a no-no.
That in terms of using a grandfathered or legal non-conforming status argument, the setback argument could be more tenable in that regard. But in terms of just creating two new substandard lots, that your ordinance is very clear.
What about if would it be possible? Never mind. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and ask. So that's specific for an R2, is that right? Or is that law specific, like,
That's across the books.
but the size requirement for an R2, is it different than the size requirement for an R1?
Yes.
Okay, so would it be possible for this to be converted to an R1, then subdivided?
For him to get the size that he's wanting, I don't know if the applicant would be open to something to that effect. But regardless, across any district, you cannot create a lot that is smaller than the minimum prescribed regulation. Each zone has minimum sizes. Yes.
Go ahead, Matthew. Did you have something else you wanted to add?
Oh, no, I think the only way that of course, the higher your zoning density, it's gonna have to go up, to create a smaller, and what I mean by that is I have to go from R2 to R3 to create a smaller lot size. And again, I want to stress, I understand this is substandard, but everything there is substandard, okay? And all I'm trying to do is make an improvement to the community in that location. And again, I can build a duplex. I can put a double wide. But to me, it just makes sense that you try to keep the area uniform in residential structures. And, you know, if the BZA chooses to decline that, I understand, but it just seems like to me from a neighborhood standpoint, an appeal standpoint, it would make sense when you have a duplex to allow two separate existing structures just to make it look better. And actually, I just prefer that type of housing, personally myself. I think it looks better in the area. But I guess from what I'm gathering is you're telling me this body cannot do that. Is that what I'm gathering? The BZA does not have the right to give a variance to an ordinance to create a lesser lot size. That's not done in any capacity through the BCA.
Consist of one or more adjacent lots of record shall be reduced in area so that yards, lot per area, lot area per family, lot width, building area, or other requirements of the zoning ordinance are not maintained. I mean, it's black and white.
Oh, basically what happens is the BZA does not have the authority to do anything that is specifically exempted in the codes.
And I guess that was probably a misunderstanding on my part. If I knew that it's something that they cannot even consider, I just assumed that the purpose of the BZA was to allow some variances in that type of capacity. Had I known that, I probably would not even presented for the proposed division. But I do think that surely the body understands why I'm asking to do what I'm doing. To me, it just makes sense to do that in this location. And so, you know, I do apologize. Did not mean to waste anyone's time in regards to that. It just made sense to me to have two residential structures instead of a duplex smacked in the middle of a bunch of houses right there in that location.
So I'm gonna go back to the question then, is there anything that he can do to apply to split that?
Split it now.
No, there's no zoning that would allow that, so he can't go to planning and zoning and do anything there, okay,
No,
Yeah.
okay.
The only, I mean, if the applicant wanted to get very creative and depending on what the applicant's holdings are in the area, you know, you might be able to take from one parcel and, you know, come up with a conglomeration of parcels that would allow for, you know, a 9,500 or a 9,000 square foot lot in, you know, for one duplex and then, you know, a 7,500 square foot lot for a single family home or something to that effect, be able to cobble something together, but, no. Unfortunately, there's not.
And for me to, just to further my understanding on this, the reason why these other lots are smaller than what our code says they need to be is because they were from 1954,
Right.
before we had set in place these standards. So now that these standards are there, they have to be held to.
Correct.
Okay.
And the same standard would apply if, you know, if one of the property owners on one of these, legal non-conforming lots wanted to come in and, wanted to subdivide their lot, they would be told no. Because you can't create another substandard lot out of this. If they wanted to further develop their lot, we would need to pay very close attention to the lot coverages. We would need to pay very close attention to the setbacks and everything like that too. Because there are certain amounts of leeway that you can have on legal non-conforming lots, but those are very limited in the amount of flexibility that can be given.
All right, I'm gonna assume that since that is out of the scope of what we're allowed to do as a BZA, that it doesn't require even a vote.
Still need to have a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, okay, I'm wrong. Still need to have a motion. So what's the motion gonna have to say then? That it's outside of the scope, so
Well, it
the
either,
motion denied.
so the applicant needs to either withdraw the application or there needs to be a motion to deny.
I'll make this very simple. I would just withdraw my application so y'all don't have to vote. But I'm assuming for a setback variance, y'all want me to come back to next month's meeting. Is that correct?
Yes, and it would still need to be the same kind of argument. You need to show the least amount of variance required to achieve your ultimate goal.
Could I just make one recommendation, and it may go unheard? It seems like in some of our existing old subdivisions, there should be some type of, I don't know, zoning ordinance that would allow this to be reconsidered. And so, I mean, what you're going to see in a situation like this is, and I mean, I could start going up to Green Top and Foxhall and start tearing down houses and then reapply or rezone and then build apartment complexes, which is not ideally what I would want to do in that location. So it seems like to me to try to preserve some of our, you want to say history and or our residential housing, that there should be some type of, maybe an ordinance where there is some leniency, I should say, with the BZA. I don't know whether that be through the County Planning Commission, where something like this could be considered. Again, I mean, I can go up there tomorrow, tear down a house and build a house on a 3,100 square foot lot. I just built one on a 2,800 square foot lot. So I mean, it just seems like there should be some situations there, some leniency there and some of those rules and regulations. I don't know if this body could ask the planning commission or the county commission for that, but it seems like that should be something that should be considered. So, but thank y'all for your time. I appreciate you letting me come tonight.
Yep. Thanks, Matthew. Okay. Back to my agenda, wherever I put it. Chairman has no report. We already talked to the codes official, unless she's got something else. Any closing remarks? Building permits have slowed down dramatically, I would guess, right?
Actually, no, they haven't. We still have, single family residences coming through. We've got commercial coming through.
Yep.
Just, accessory structures, a lot of.
Take your turn in the workday next week. You can go hang out with me.
Okay, all right. Anybody else have any questions, comments? Otherwise, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Well, I maybe would like to earmark the topic that we addressed today as a topic for further training next year, for us to be more familiar with where our limitations are. And I know that we've already done some of that, but I still feel like with there being basically like what he had suggested, maybe take a better look at that and get a increased understanding of where our limitations are with stuff like that.
I have it noted.
If nothing else, I entertain a motion to adjourn. Somebody got to do it. I can't.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
I second.
Motion by Kendra, second by Mark Presley to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Motion carries. We're adjourned.